back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're positively up on Memorial Day and springtime and Adley Rutschman season, and the Preakness came and went. Always good to catch up with this guy as we head into summer. I mean, it's you sell those cars out there at Coons Baltimore Ford with air conditioning, but you don't have to use it 6, 7, 8 months a year. You open the windows. Tell you what, on the way to Preakness on Saturday, Dennis, we needed the air condition all the way up in the vehicle. How are you? How's your weekend?
Well, it's great to see this warm weather. It's hot and heavy Saturday and Sunday, so we saw lots of cars, and I went to Loch Raven, rented a boat, and caught some bass. Caught 4 really nice bass, and had just a wonderful, wonderful day. Watched some sports on TV, as you mentioned. Adley Rutschman, big story at the yard. Preakness, PGA Golf had another horrific meltdown at the end there. It's 72 holes. It's a very long tournament. Tiger tapped out of the last day. Like you said, lots of stuff going on, man. Lacrosse, watch our good friend Bruce Posner's Maryland Terps take care of UVA. That was a really good game by the Terps. So
it's a real sports. Like, I remember being with you in the beginning of the plague, and things stopped, and we wonder when it was going to happen, not just for the professionals, but for kids and for everyone out there at this point. And I have a young intern here this summer, and she calls herself a COVID kid. You know, they did the graduations by drive-by and beeping 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Now we're at this point where you see these lacrosse kids piling on. You see the Adley Rutschmans get the Camden Yards. Wherever these athletes were, and I'll be honest with you, I spent Sunday night with one of my favorite musicians on earth. He's a very humble, quiet guy. It's a band called the Bodines. I gave him a fist bump after the show. He's going to come on the show in a couple of weeks. But he was an amazing artist because he locked himself in his studio in Austin, Texas, and took 25 songs over 25 weeks, and every week completely reworked an old song, shot a video for it, and released it every week during the plague, just to stay active, to be doing things. So whether you're an athlete, an artist, in a business like you where people needed cars and you were there to sell them with masks on and sell them online and doing all that, to see sports again. You know, we got this 30 for 30 with the Ravens this week, which is going to make me cry. You know, Dennis, it made me bring out Purple Rain 1. So I had to resurrect the old days. So a couple of these have sold. But this week, football, we have OTAs. We have Sam Cooke retiring, which was a beautiful ceremony by the Ravens. Oriole fans getting re-engaged. And if you look, 17,000 people down there Saturday night, really kind of says where the franchise is. And the decision to be foolish, just completely foolish, by bringing the kid up on Preakness morning at 8 a.m. and not really having an event and inviting the larger audience to say, come down and honor this kid, give him a standing ovation, welcome him in. 17,000 people there on a 100-degree night. But all that being said, there is promise. I mean, Oriole fans are engaged. Raven fans obviously engaged. Golf, you're fishing. You know, it's fishing season again. I'm crab caking this week. I got 2 crab cake door stops. It's wonderful, right? I mean, in post-COVID, things have not been normal. So to see normal things and young people at the Preakness, Dennis, Preakness has become like a Southern college football game. Like, the girls are beautiful. They're wearing their beautiful guys are dressing up a little. It's not my guys from Dundalk and wife beaters out there bringing garbage cans full of beer like it was in 1988, right? It was lovely. We had a lovely, other than getting thrown out of the press box, I did manage to steal some Preakness water before I did that. So I just to let you know, I got full water here.
So you're saying that the crowd has changed, right? The demographic has changed at the Preakness from back in the day.
Different I don't know if it's altogether. A demographic, but I know
younger.
Well, first things first. They announced the crowd at 60,000. They used to announce the crowd at 150, right? So, and Stedman every year, because Stedman was Stedman, and I have a little bit of him in me, he would always go nuts because he was convinced that the Francis family was lying about the attendance. He's like, there's no ways 150,000 people. 150,000 people couldn't fit. And he did the math. You know, he was pissed that they were hyperinflating their numbers. But all these years later, if you would have told me there were 60,000 people there, that feels a little large to me. Didn't feel like it was 60. I mean, I've been in rooms of 60 plenty of times. It felt more like 30, 35. I mean, to
Really?
me now.
Okay.
Now I'm being honest. Now I'm not a scientist, but I am a doctor, and I have pictures of me up on the roof. I walked the facility. I saw the empty seats. I was out in the infield. There were a lot of people there. A lot of people, like 30 or 40,000 people. I would say this: they've changed the event. I don't know if you're ever going to want to go. You know what I mean? I don't know if your kids are ever going. I don't. I got a lot of backlash this weekend. I felt a lot of people like F the Preakness, let it go.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't feel that. I
See,
mean,
it's never appealed to me because I'm not a horse racing fan. Although I would like to go eventually, just to scratch it off. It is a bucket list item for me to attend, not just a Preakness, Nestor, but also a horse race.
can I tell you, and I'll be just completely honest, and I'm not a horse racing junkie. You know that. I promote the lottery, but I'm not the biggest gambler in the world. We've talked about this they wouldn't let me be a gambler and be a sports writer. I would have been thrown out. And when having Marty McGee and Dick Girardi on and walking up into the press box right before I was thrown out, and there's a betting window in the press box. Always has been. No, seriously, like there always has
Really?
been.
Okay.
Always has been a betting two windows. There's two betting windows in the press box at
So you
Pimlico.
don't have to go. They're right in front of you. You don't have to go anywhere.
If you, no, it's in the press box, right
That's
next to
in
the
the
beer,
press box.
right next to
Really?
where I took this water. Absolutely,
Okay.
seriously.
Okay.
And I did get thrown out, and I'm almost laughing about it because I'm like, you have nobody at your race. Nobody cares about your race. I care enough about your race to turn my whole company last week over to Randy Moss and Dick Girardi and talking important issues, and Donna Brothers and the people that are on the broadcast. The woman who's interviewing the horse jockey after the race spends 45 minutes with me every year. We got to get to a hot yoga class. She's a hot yoga person too. So I love it. And I'll just say this. We went out there at 1 o'clock, 1:30 on the most oppressive Preakness day ever. I don't remember a day where it could have been any hotter to be
Yep.
thinking about a sport coat. And I saw Larry Hogan and I saw Brandon Scott and I saw Johnny O and I saw Barry Glassman. I saw old people and young people. It was black, white, young, old, very representative of Baltimore. I do think that there are still frats and sororities that ship in from Villanova or wherever, because it was always that. But it was beautiful. I mean, the event was beautiful. They had tons of food from local vendors. I'm going to be doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour at a place downtown, a guy named Tony, Next Phase Cafe, downtown in Lexington. He has great crab cake. I met him in the infield. I was looking for him. Brandon Scott said, go over there. He's over there. And I go over there, and there's Jimmy's. Your buddies are selling crab cakes. Landa Kush, the vegan place where I did my show, they had a stand out there. Island cuisine that I love. I mean, I love Caribbean food, Jamaican food. It was a lot of local vendors. It was easy to get a beer. It was hot as hell. I mean, let's start with that. It was just really hot. So it had everything that would be awful. You know what I mean? Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The governor's melting in the tent. The tent doesn't have air. It was everything that could have been awful.
Was he wearing a suit?
He was he had his shirt unbuttoned. He had a hat.
I got
and
you.
he was wearing a jacket. He was wearing like a tweed jacket. He looked good. We took a picture.
Okay.
We talked to my wife. He's a cancer survivor. He knows my wife. So we're hanging out, and we stayed until 4:30, 5 o'clock. We started to melt. My wife's like, enough. You know, we had 3.5 hours. It was good. We had a good time. I would tell you that it was fantastic. You know, other than being thrown out of the press box by some woman named Joan that I've never met.
Why did you get thrown out? Why? What's the backstory?
She accused me of not working. I said, I've been working from the minute I got here. I'm on social media right now. I can make you famous if you want. I can put you want to take a picture? We'll take a picture. She was just such a not nice person.
So
and I just said,
for not working.
Dennis, I want to tell this story because it might be the only time
what were they paying you, pray tell, for you to quote unquote work there to promote their brand?
Nothing.
You tell me.
So here's the deal. You asked me on your show Thursday if I had a press pass.
Yep.
Literally in the middle of the show, I text David Joseph, who is a nice man, but he spends time in Florida. There's no boots on the ground here for that company, right? So the woman that threw me out, I don't even know who the hell she is. I've never met her. I don't know why she was the czar of the press. It was insane. It was literally, it was so insane that I laugh about it, right?
Have you ever seen something like that before?
Never. I've never
heard of
She
such
came
thing.
up to me and said, it's time for you to leave. I said, I just got here. I
Because
literally, I, I didn't care enough. So
and you had a press pass, correct?
I'm going to push back way more on Chad Steele, but before this is all over with, than I am this crazy lady in the press box. So,
Understood.
so this is the honest to God truth, Dennis. I love the Preakness. I've gone 32 out of 41 years of being old enough to go or whatever, since I was 12 years old, right? I tell all these stories of love of the Preakness. I turn my company over to the Preakness every year for a week, trying to save the race, getting Bill Cole on, getting Sandy on, Rosenberg. I mean, all these people that have tried to save the race. I cry about Clem Florio and Charlie Ekman and Chris Thomas and Vinny Perrone and the people that I met in the press box with Andy Beyer 35 years ago up there. And when I go on Preakness Day, I'm always dressed a little nicer because I used to go out there and be a fool, right? So I've done everything on the Preakness, from standing in the winner's circle with the winner to being with the Governor Ehrlich on the podium, like with pictures with the horse. Like, I've done everything, right? All these years. All I wanted to do this year, because it was 100 degrees, was just have a good time with my wife. Like, that's all I wanted to do. My wife's almost died twice. Like, we just want to have a nice day. I wanted to see people I liked and just have a good day. So the media passes, we've always had them. Now, I will say the press box used to be a social event on Preakness Day. You would be up there, and Marty Bass would be there with his wife, and Vince Bagley would be there with his wife, and it was beautiful. It was local people who knew each other and who maybe went out to the track for the 7th and the 8th race because Vince was going to give you the results. So when I go out there, I park in the same spot. I walk in the same gate. I tell my wife the same stupid story. It's like vacation. I say, this is where I pet Ferdinand in 1986, who became Glue Factory. They shipped Ferdinand. Google Ferdinand as a horse. It was the first horse I ever touched. Beautiful chestnut. Charlie Whittingham. You make me cry. So I touched this horse, and there's the right to the left of it is where they always put the Kentucky Derby winner. And it struck me going in that there was no Kentucky Derby winner. I don't know where the horses are. They're in the next stable. I see Pete Gilbert, who's wilting in the sun. And I love Pete from WBAL. We hung out, we laughed, we told some Pearl Jam stories. I got a water. And then I walk back through the stable, and my wife's trying to peek under, looking at all the horses. I'm like, stop. They're Preakness horses. Leave them alone. So we walk. I mean, I'm kidding, right? And we walk around, and I tell her how I saw Howard Cosell one time in my life, well, twice, because I saw him when I was a kid in the press box when I was an Oriole fan, right? But I saw Howard Cosell. I got elbow to elbow, and he's a huge man in that parking lot. And I tell my wife every time about the first time I ran film. So I'm talking about 1985, and I've gone to every Preakness, right? I go into the press area where the elevator is, and the elevator's from like 1945. So it takes forever. It's as big as this screen, and it's hot as hell, and it takes forever to get up. You think you're not going to get there. And then you get to the top of the press box, and it's 400 degrees, and you walk through this tunnel on the roof of Pimlico. It's a little skinny. Like, it's so skinny that if you and I had to go through, you'd have to give way like a one-way. It's so, your arms touch the walls. It's more like this, right? On the walls, the whole way down, are all the charts from every Preakness win, right? Every Preakness day. And they're all signed by everyone who was in the press box that day. So there's Pete Axtell and Jack Whitaker, and name any Howard Cosell, like on all of these charts from the 60s. And they're all autographed, and they're all beaten up now because some of them are broken and they haven't been fixed because the place is under such disrepair. So I walk up there to this press box, and I said to my wife, this might be the last time I come up here because they're going to rip this place down. And I'm emotional. And we walk in, and there's nobody there, and they've stopped serving food up there, right? Like, and the toilets didn't flush the last time I was up there. It's literally, it's an ish hole. It's awful. It's no place you'd want to be, other than it's a place I've always gone to visit friends. Marty McGee's up there. Dick Girardi's up there. People I've known all my life. I own a radio station that promotes their horse race. I literally was going up there to go out onto the veranda, which is beautiful, and take a picture with my wife and get some fresh air and go out and get a drink because it was 100 degrees. We were on fire. So I walked out. I went up looking for a crab cake or chicken, which they usually put out with some coleslaw. And they're all like, no food this year. Okay, dude, I'll go down the steps. But McMullen's Pub, Eddie McMullen, I knew him. He was a jockey. It was called McMullen's Pub because he was a jockey who served food back in the 80s and 90s when the press box was named, the press lounge was named after him. So I go down, I get a water. I start looking at the races. There's 2 minutes to post. I'm thinking, am I going to bet a race? And the woman comes over to me and says, it's time for you to leave.
Out of nowhere.
So I looked at her and I said, I'm here for 5 minutes. I own a radio station. I promoted the race all week. I know who you are. You have to leave.
Jeez.
Okay, lady, I'm gone. We were leaving anyway. I mean, we weren't there to
she
sit in the press box. I was going to watch the race, maybe bet the race in the air condition, like for a minute,
okay,
and then go out. So that's the whole story. So people ask, it's probably the only time I'm going to tell it. I don't even know what happened. There's no there. I didn't know I had a press pass until Thursday, and I had to go over there in the afternoon on the way to Sam Cook's retirement that we might have thought was Lamar Jackson's. By the way, the Ravens, that thing they did for Sam Cook was unbelievably well done.
It was great. It was fantastic. Absolutely.
Like,
First class.
I was in the
First
room
class all the way.
and I welled up 3 times. Eric could not stop from crying. Tucker's in the second row bawling. Cook couldn't. And he's such a good man.
He is a good man.
He's a good man, and they really did right by him.
Absolutely.
With flowers.
100%. And also gave him a job on the coaching staff, right? I wish that all companies would be as kind to their long-term employees, right? To give them that soft landing.
Well, it's not even a soft landing. It's good for both sides. I said to Luke, I said, Sam Cook walking into your skybox, Mr. Coons' skybox, and saying hello 5 years from now, it has value to Sam Cook, and that has value to the team, and it's got value to you as a fan and to me as a fan, where I'm gathering 21 and a half years later with Marvin Lewis and Brian Billick and Jack Del Rio and Jamal Lewis and Ray Lewis and Shannon Sharp and Rod Woodson and Trent Dilfer's apparently coming. They're all coming back for this thing. And I wrote a book about it, and I have all these old pictures when I was, half the man I used to be. These memories and these things that you take with you in these moments, Adley Rutschman, if they win a World Series here, and you were one of the 17,000 there on Saturday night, from a fan standpoint, that has incredible value, right?
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
And Sam Cook adds value.
Well, with the Orioles, the night before, their managers was asked point blank, when is Rutschman coming up? And he said, I don't know. And like you said, the next day, he gets the call up. No warning, no heads up. Could have really, had they given the fan base more of a heads up, more time. Yeah, I think it's easier to say that we would probably had 25, 30,000 fans maybe at the stadium. Who knows? But to give people, less than 12 hours notice, it's hard to get into the stadium, particularly with everything going on these days, not just with life, but work and also other sporting events.
It felt to me like they had a chance to do a second opening day. Luke and I were talking about this 3-4 weeks ago. Yeah. How are they going to do it? How are they going to orchestrate it? They didn't orchestrate it at all. They orchestrated it for failure. And the weird part is, and I'll talk to Marty Conway about this week. I don't know. When's the last time you really went to an Oriole game? And I'm not being mean. I'm being serious. You can say it was during Buck Showalter, whenever you want. The last time you went to it, did you go to one of the playoff games, or did you go to any of that? You did go to those games, right?
But yeah, the last time I went to a game, Buck Showalter was the manager. Haven't been since.
Okay. So
and when did Buck leave the team? When was that? Or the team
17, 18, whatever that was. I don't know.
Okay. That was
better
it.
At those days
it was towards the end. Yeah.
I would say, for me, I remember going to a game one night, and it was a long time ago, so it's not fair to any of the current people because I don't want to be like that. But I went to a game one night when there were too many people there. Like on a Friday night, they had a walk up. It might have been a promotion. It might have been one of those college nights a long time ago. But I was there on a Friday night. I shot a video. So it was back when the Red Sox and Yankees mattered and they would bring 50,000 people. It was back when I was still pissed off. It was back post Free the Birds. I went to a Friday night game, and I literally, I'm not being mean, I couldn't get in. You couldn't buy it. This is before you could click a ticket, right? So it was a while ago. So the box office was overwhelmed. The ticket takers were overwhelmed. They, it was 7:30. The game was in the third inning. You couldn't get a ticket, and if you had a ticket, you couldn't get in. And it was post 9/11, so security was, what it was, right? And I remember thinking, they can't handle a crowd. You know what I mean? Like, but that was a long time ago. And all these years later, the thing is so atrophied, right, that they don't allow people in upper left field because they don't have vendors, right? They don't want to flush the toilets. They don't want to have to clean the seats. And I get all of that, right? So encouraging people to keep it smaller and make it look a little more crowded. I don't know how they discount their seats because I don't click on their seats to find out if I can get a $15 ticket behind home plate on a Wednesday. I don't know. But I would think part of this is if they created a Pamplona bull rush for Hadley, if literally 35,000 showed up on a Tuesday night, I don't know that they could get them in, and that they would have popcorn vendors and like the things that they need to do because they were used to running a 10,000 seat operation. To some degree, it's become what you manage for your business. We all do, right? You order enough food for whatever you do and enough people, and getting people's hard to do. To some degree, I think creating a stink might not have been in their best interest operationally. I mean, and I'm being not mean, just saying we can't turn a Thursday Saturday if we get 48,000 people. We're going to have a bad experience for that. I mean, maybe there's a question about that. I don't think it was that esoteric. I think it's just it's a baseball decision. We're going to make a baseball decision. Our baseball people, TJ Brightman or John Ant, somebody over there's got to say, whoa. We need to make an event out of this. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean,
Sure.
And if you're going to bring him up Saturday night and that's the plan on Tuesday, have a plan on Thursday to let people know and have somebody say, you're bringing him up on Preakness night. They run the race at 7:01 and you're going to have him come out of the dugout at 7:03. That's not cool. That's not cool. You shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. They're telling the NFL they can't have a game here when the team just won the Super. Bad idea, Peter. Bad idea. That's bad. Don't do that. Somebody should stand up.
Why not move it to Sunday, right? Sunday was a beautiful day, a hot day. They're playing the Rays. Why not? Why go up against, as you mentioned, the Preakness, right? And take all those fans, all those eyeballs off of the prize.
Because they're not good at what they do.
Just move
it to Sunday. They really aren't good at what they do.
Move it to, you know what? Move it to Sunday. And, I don't know what time they played Sunday, but you know what? Had they played on Sunday, maybe I would have went to the game.
Maybe.
I wasn't going Saturday night.
Well, not with 8 hours of notice.
Zero consideration Saturday night. But Sunday, you know what? Hot Sunday, let's go look at the kid. Let's go see the future, which is now.
And if you like me and I like you and we haven't been to a ball game, it's a perfect day.
It's a why not. It's one of those why not moments, right? Why not? If you don't want to sit there and watch golf on TV, or again, I went fishing from 6 to noon, so I was available in the afternoon. So I could have gone.
Tell everybody about fishing. You said you just got a boat and you went out. Like you make it sound so easy.
Went to Loch Raven, rented a boat, $64. Had seats, had a motor, extra battery. I mean, beautiful morning. Not that many people out, and I caught some bass. Just, went around the lake and it was beautiful. Saw an eagle, saw a hawk, beavers. I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful setting. Baltimore County has a lot of beauty in it. And when you're in the reservoir, surrounded by all those trees and you're watching the clear water and you're catching fish, man, oh man,
man, you sound like Moeller and Johnny O. They're like, hey, why are you going all over the state looking for beautiful water and places to fish? You can do that
here.
You can fly fish over on the Gunpowder if you look the right place. They're all about me. So
they are. It took me 22 minutes to get there from my house, and you know what? It was got there at 6. I was in the water by 6:05. Put a rod in my hand. I'm a happy camper, Nestor. It's a lot of fun. But
turn the Wi-Fi off.
I don't think we could. I didn't try to make a phone call. I don't think we get Wi-Fi there on the lake. You know what? But it's such a beautiful way to spend a day. But my point is, and I don't know what time they played Sunday because I didn't care, right now. But had this been Rutschman's coming out party on Sunday, I would have known what time the game would have started, and perhaps in the afternoon, I would have went. And
well, what's interesting is on your dealership lot. Black, white, young, old, male, female, east, west, a lot of west, though, whatever. But across your dealership, if there was a night Is there enough, Oriole, anything that there are people like you and me who still have a little sticky glue left enough to say this good-looking kid who's could be the next Cal
Sure.
Ripken, that he's going to debut on a Tuesday night and they make it convenient for me? I don't keep saying Tuesday night like, well, you can't expect people to come out on a Tuesday night. Well, that's why you beef Tuesday night up. And you
Yeah.
don't compete with the Preakness when there's 55,000 kids out in the infield who can't go, right? I just I don't know the way they think, and then I ask questions, and I'm just a jerk for asking the question. Like,
No, I think we can drum. I certainly think we can drum up enough interest. A lot of people here have parents. They have kids. They have grandkids, and to me, to hook up with people that you work with, that you like, that you respect, to have an outing like that, yeah, I think we can certainly drum up enough interest to get enough to go down there.
you see Oriole hats on Security Boulevard from time to time,
Yeah, well,
right?
you do. It's still a Major League Baseball team, right? We still have fond memories of what they used to be. Now we have the promise of the future, and if the future is here, right now, I mean, they have a collection of nice young ball players that, yeah, you know what, my interest starting to get there. I can see myself going to a game this year at some point.
Well, I could say this to you after Preakness weekend because we're not going to talk about horses unless it's the Indianapolis Colts between now and this time next year. We had a really nice experience at the Preakness, and it was awful weather and like all of that, and whatever the getting thrown out of the press box. I mean, I'm not making light of it because I shouldn't, but I don't care. I mean,
You've been
I
thrown.
don't care.
You've been
Um,
thrown out. You've been thrown out of better places, clearly.
yeah, I mean, I didn't even put up a fight because I didn't really want to be there. You know what I
You
mean?
were like, okay,
Not that I
fine,
didn't have privileged to be there, but there was no there anyway. I mean, literally, we were just getting a
understood.
breath of fresh air, saying hello, and leaving anyway. We got thrown out of a room we were leaving, which is really crazy. But the experience of going and why you should go and looking nice and the fact that the food is edible and available and the beer and the bathrooms, all of that was good enough that if it were a 74-degree day, it would have been perfect. I mean, well, the Derby winner, you want to have that too. But I'm talking about from you put a couple $100 in, I put a couple $100 in, you put a hat on, I put a hat on, she gets a
Sure.
dress, she gets a dress, you bring when we go and do it and spend the day together, it was lovely. And I would tell anybody that that's a reason to keep the race. And I see the race going in a different way now with young people dressing up and young girls saying, I want to look good. Now, maybe they were a little inebriated at the end of the day, and I'll hear all that. But it's a different kind of an event than the free for all that I participated in
Oh yeah.
readily and pridefully for years and years and years. It's not the Animal House it once was. And I would say that once they get the new facility and stuff, I see a future that a 60-something-year-old Dennis Koulatsos and a 60-something-year-old Nestor would still, on a good weather day, want to go do the third or fourth or fifth weekend, whenever they're going to run the race, at the Preakness, because I think the Preakness is really worthwhile. And I think I had a really good experience despite the awfulness in telling people go and enjoy yourself. It was a beautiful day. And it was a Baltimore day. I ran into lots and lots and lots of people I knew who knew me. And that made it beautiful, after all this.
Nestor, back in the late 70s, early 80s, the images I have of Preakness is a drunk guy running on the top of the porta potties with everybody chucking beers at him. That's what I think of the.
Well, that's gone. I mean, and I can
I
tell
don't do
you.
that anymore.
I don't know if I was the chucker or the runner, but it probably depended on the Preakness and where the pictures are. There, of all the things I've done in my life that probably would preclude me from running for office if the full true stories were told. The Get Nasty van in the infield, Preakness, not once, not
Understood.
twice, not three times, but for a decade.
Those are misdemeanors, though. In the whole scheme of things, they're not.
They're not crimes.
Egregious. They're not crimes. No, nothing egregious there.
Everything was consensual. It just wasn't. It was foolish.
Understood. But hey, when you went to the infield, you went there at your own risk. Anything could happen. A lot of things did happen in that infield.
I told stories with Mickey Coachella that I put up online last week at Baltimore Positive. A couple years ago, we told the story. So I unearthed them. Lord knows what we said. But the memories I have, and I was telling my wife out on the infield about roping off the area in the late 80s and Snow Chief. I can go through all the horses. Ali Sheba, Sunday Silence, like all those horses in the late 80s that were a part of that.
Yep.
Gato del Sol,
Yeah.
Gate Dancer. So all those horses I watched on that turn. My buddy worked for Bojangles Chicken back when they were here back in the late 80s, and he would get like 300 pieces of chicken. We
Mm.
would freeze it. He would put it in the freezer. We would grab it at 6. And this is before I had buses, before I was nasty, not any of that, right? This is when I was working at the paper. We would take chicken out, and then we would take 15 cases of Bush Light, Schaefer, whatever we could afford at Budget Liquors in 1989. I was 21, and we would take it out there and we would take the ice out, ice it all down, and we would have beer and we would have fried chicken that was frozen that would warm up during the day that by 1 o'clock we could eat, and we had food because there weren't vendors. There were the Black-Eyed Susan with the glass that would shard, that would cut the girls' feet open, and people were hammered. They used to allow like grills out there. Can you imagine like
Yeah.
charcoal?
Yeah. No, I
This is a
remember.
little before my time, but I saw atrocities of all kinds. Like literally stuff that shouldn't have been going on. It was very lawless out there for a long time. It's just not that way anymore. And I would tell you that if me and you, or me and anybody in the audience go to the race and you put something nice on, even on a 100-degree day, it was well done. And I don't know who's to give credit to because I don't know who runs the place. I don't talk to anybody over there. They've been trying to take the race out of here for years, so apparently they don't like me, which may have had something to do with me getting thrown out of the press box because I've had the audacity to say that they tried to steal the race, because they did. I'm in the truth business, but it's great, and you should go. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that they're trying to make better.
No. Yep. Eventually, you know what? I'm gonna. It's in my bucket, and I'm gonna check it off, and I'm gonna go. It's just not gonna be. It wasn't this year, and probably not next year, but within the next decade. I guess the question is, will I go to a Preakness before I go to an Oriole game? That's the race.
Well, Dennis, you know why people listen to this show? Because you had me on Thursday and asked me if I was going, and I said, I don't know if I have a press pass. An hour later, I had a press pass. I picked it up. If you would have said to me on Saturday morning, how's it going to go? What are you going to think? And I would have said the last time I was out there, it was a shambles. The thing was a mess. It was unorganized. It was chaotic, and it wasn't 100 degrees. The reason we went later in the day is I didn't think it was going to be fun. You know what I mean? Like literally, we're like, you want to leave at 12:30? We can leave at 1:30. You know what I mean? We're going. I want to go.
Okay.
I want to be a part of it. I want to see people, but I didn't think it would be great. And instead, the minute I got there, I saw pretty girls in pretty dresses. There weren't too many people. Now, I've gone out there some years. There's just been too many people to have fun. It's been too. There's just,
Right.
and it's not set up for that. It was I think they lied about the crowd. I don't think there were 60,000 people there. I think there were 30, 35,000 people. And because of that, it was really comfortable. We went down to the clubhouse, went to the grandstand, we walked through.
Gotcha.
The food was readily available. Everybody looked good. People weren't throwing up on the floor. There were some pretty drunk girls and some pretty drunk boys late in the day, but they weren't animals. The cops were hanging out, and it was appropriate. I don't know how many people got arrested or passed out or whatever, but there was no carnage. And of all the things I witnessed, I witnessed something that I feel like I can, in my heart, come back and say, it's what it's supposed to be. You should come now. And so I just want to go over the top because I did get thrown out, but I don't want people to not go, and I didn't have a bad time.
Okay. Well, good. Good. Well, it sounds like it was a fun day at the track for everyone, even with your little mishap there in the press box.
We're going fishing, you and me. Come on
Absolutely.
now. We're going to have a day in August. We're going to fish. All
I'm
right?
ready. I'm
You
ready.
know what I want to do? I
ready.
want to take you out with Sammy Tudor. We're going to go snakehead. Would you do that, or is that not fun for you?
I would. Sammy Tudor texted me the other day. He fell off his boat. He showed me a clip where he fell off his boat into the water, which has happened to me many times. We had a nice chuckle over it.
Now, Sam Tudor, did he buy a car from you?
He did. He did.
Okay, because I didn't know. So that's how you text me and said Sam Tudor's in my office, and I'm like, Sam
Yeah.
Tudor was in the principal's office back in '76 with Dr. Kohlmeyer in third grade too. And you can tell him I said that.
Yeah.
But Sam is great, man. I grew up with him. He was trying to fish with me. He has a YouTube channel. He was trying to take me fishing last year. This is when you and I talked about snakehead.
Yeah.
You said it tastes like crap. That was Sam Tudor. How about that?
He likes snakehead, but then again, he also likes catfish. I'm not a catfish eater, and I like the flaky cod and sea bass and bronzini and stuff like that. But great guy, and he and I will go. We're going to go snakehead fishing the next week or two.
Oh, I want to see pictures of that. I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
going. I'm saving this for the tour. There's going to come a day in August. He wants me to meet him on one of the tributaries over by the Trop Tank. I'm
yep.
going to meet him on 3/4 of the way to Ocean City, and he wants to do it on a Wednesday. He said that that it gets crowded. That places where there are fish, you know this. If you go on the
Yep.
wrong day, there's too many people.
It's true, very true. Yeah, there's an art and a science to it. I mean, people say Loch Raven is a hard place to fish, but the stuff that I use, I mean, I catch fish because I'm a contrarian and I throw stuff at fish that they haven't seen before or too frequently. So there's a science to it. I don't go fishing, I go catching. I'm not bragging, but there's a difference between someone who knows what they're doing, like Sam, versus an amateur. Sam is a very good fisherman.
Well, I say this to you and I laugh a little bit about this because when I went fishing, Dan Rodricks he was so despondent that I didn't catch a fish. Like he was so disappointed for me
Yeah,
and thinking I didn't have fun. And I'm like,
I get that.
oh my God, I had the greatest day sitting against this rock and waders, just feeling this cold water and casting. I
It
can't
is.
wait to do it again.
Yeah, it's not about catching fish. It really isn't. Just about being there. Nature and waders. I mean, I went in the water yesterday. I got hot around noon and we were close to the shore, so I hopped in waist deep in Loch Raven. You're not supposed to do that, but everybody does it just to
All
cool
of
off.
my fishing stuff is going to be cordoned into a couple of weeks in August. I'm going to fly fish. I'm snakeheading with you guys. Tony Conrad from Conrad Seafood, one of our great sponsors here. Tony's taking me out on a crab boat in August too.
Oh,
We're going to get
nice.
out early in
Very
the
good.
morning. We're going to go crabbing. So
Crabbing's a lot of fun.
you can't do a Maryland crab cake tour with breweries and not get out on the water. I didn't get on the water enough last year. And I'm not Mr. Nautical. You know what I mean? I listen to Jimmy Buffett. That's close enough, but that's the best I do. But I'm going to be a little more nautical this summer.
Hey,
Oh, by
also,
the way, I'm in the tent where the governor is, right? Guy comes by me. He's wearing a shirt, just like this Coons Ford shirt, and it says Oxford Bellevue Ferry on it. And I introduce myself. He's the man who owns the Oxford Bellevue Ferry,
okay.
oldest family. And I wrote it last year. I did the ferry last year because everybody told me I had to do it. And I did it and I rode his ferry. And he's like, hey, Dad, this summer you come back, ride it again. I'll come on with you. So
Oh, that's
I'm
great.
just meeting people. I told you this crab cake tour thing's the greatest idea I've ever had just because I'm meeting people. So there's one thing you need to do. You need to get on the Oxford Ferry in Maryland. How about that?
Hey, I was in Catonsville Sunday and I saw Fadley's in Catonsville on Frederick
Coming,
Road. So
coming.
yeah, that really got my attention because I'm always up and down that strip eating at all those great establishments. So I was very happy to see that.
It's right next to State Fair. They're going to be
Yes.
neighbors. It's
Yep.
one of the things we've talked about so much with our
Yeah.
friends at
Great
Fadley's.
stuff.
And
Great stuff.
yeah, my wife had a crab cake from the boat, the boat yard in Annapolis. We were there before the Bodines concert on Sunday night down at Ramshead, and she hadn't had the crab cake, and I told her how good it was because I had it with the governor. By the way, the governor's having a crab cake with me on August 30th in Annapolis. Got a commitment from him on Saturday out at the Preakness as well. And she ate it. And she's like, it's amazing. Every crab cake I eat, it's delicious in a different way, but they're all different. And I said that to her because she didn't eat crab until 2 years ago, ever. So it's all new to her and
That's
all of these
great.
flavors and stuff.
Yeah.
And the Fadley's crab cake is so different than anyone else's because it's mustardy and it's just different.
It
But
is different.
my God, I ate 6 jumbo crabs at Costas on Friday night. I went in. Apparently, I got in there just before Saragusa came in there and cleaned them
Oh,
out Sunday night.
that's good. Good for you.
Hey,
Good for
man,
you. And see,
appreciate you. We'll see you soon, okay?
you got it.
All
Appreciate
right.
you.
Dennis Koulatsos will be here on Thursday, 3 until 5. It is a Sunday Sports Voice. We really lingered longer here. I haven't had Dennis
We
on
did.
in a while, and we just we meandered. We'll keep it tighter in Dennis's show. He has rules and structure and all this stuff on the show on Thursday. Also rebroadcast on Sunday morning. Happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. I'm Nestor. He's Dennis. We are WNST AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Sam Cooke and why you should go to the Preakness here at BaltimorePositive.com.